Welcome to section 2 of using animations to bring your app to life. In this section, we're going to start looking at how to use animations. Firstly, we're going to work with UIView class animations. Then, we're going to have a look at CA layer and exactly what it is and some of its properties. After that, we're going to begin creating animations on layers using CA basic animation. And then we're going to begin creating and animating CA shape layers. So in this video, we're going to begin our adventure into animation, starting with how to create a UIView programmatically. Then, we're going to look at setting the UIView auto resizing mask to flexibly resize our view. And then, we're going to animate a property using a UIView class animation. We're going to begin a little journey into animation, starting at the most commonly accessed objects we use, UIView. UIView defines a rectangular frame on the screen and controls the content within that region. It has many animatable properties, such as its layout, including origin, center, and dimensions, and visual items, such as its alpha. There are a multitude of different classes that inherit from UIView, and each of these inherits the animatable properties of UIView, as well as adding some of their own. For a full overview of this class, where it inherits its properties from, and what its subclasses are, it's worth checking out the Apple documentation. Please take a look at the link above in order to have a look at Apple's documentation around UIView. So the very first thing we're going to do is to create our own subclass. Let's step quickly through this process. I will click into my Project Explorer, then press Command-N to create a new file. I'm going to select a Swift file. Then I'm going to name it Dream Logo Animator View. Ensure it is added to my target and press Enter. Okay, so we have an empty file here. So let's just create our view very fast. Let's start by creating our class, which is Dream Logo Animator View. We'll have it inherit from UIView. Here, I'm going to add an image view. So I want to do this in my initializer. If you're not familiar with the life cycle of classes in Swift, then this is effectively the code we call to create a new instance of this class. We're going to use the initWithFrame initializer. But since iOS also requires us to include the initWithDecoder, we'll include this. Then I'm going to create a new private function. Then I'm going to create a new private method called setup. And in here I'm going to initialize a new image view, with the bounds of this view as its frame, and add it to the main view. I'll also do 4 more things with the image view. First, I will set the image to be our main image, the launch screen image. Then, I'll set the content mode to UIViewContentMode.ScaleAspectFill. Next, I'm going to add one line of code that, although isn't specifically required in this case, is still good to know about it. And that is ImageView.Translates auto resizing mask into constraints equals true. And now I'm going to set the auto resizing mask to be flexible width and flexible height. The first of these lines of code is used to determine whether the view should use the auto layout constructs or NS layout constraints. The second line sets the mask that your view will use. In this instance, it will resize the height and width in direct correlation with the parent view. And since the view is the same size as the parent, it means it will remain the same size. Now, let's add this method into our initWithFrame initializer. Okay, so let's go into our Dream Table View controller class. Let's create a new instance of this at the top, and we'll declare it with a CGRect0 for now. Then we're going to scroll to the ViewDidLoad method, and in here we're going to add it to the view. Then we're going to set the frame equal to the view bounds. Then we'll set the translates auto resizing mask into constraints into true, and the auto resizing mask we'll set to UIView auto resizing.flexible width and UIView auto resizing.flexible height. And now for the animation. Let's go to the view will appear, and in here at the end of the code we'll write UIView.animate. As you can see, there are a few options that we can select from this, and we're going to choose the one that has a delay and some timing. I want this to happen after 5 seconds and take 3 seconds, so let's put these in here. And then I'm just going to use the default UIView animation options. And for the animation, what I want is that the alpha should turn to 0. And that's it. Okay, so one last thing. I only want this to trigger if my Dream logo animator view has an alpha greater than 0. So I'll quickly wrap this in an if statement, and let's build it and run. And as you can see, after 5 seconds, the view starts to disappear, and it takes 3 seconds and fades away.